All right, everybody, welcome to the Service Hub, where we talk about tips, tricks, and skills that you can apply to your service business. Today, we've got Pete Ramsey with us. Pete, say hi.
Hey, Parker. Hey, Trevor. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you.
Yep, absolutely. Where are you calling in from, Pete?
I'm based in Miami, but I keep a satellite location in South America. So I'm broadcasting from Medellin, Colombia, the one that old Pablo Escobar made famous many years ago.
That is awesome. Well, we're super excited to have you on the show with us today. For our listeners, Pete has got an awesome background in the HVAC industry. He's been in the industry for 37 years. He currently is running a coaching and consulting firm called HVAC Greatness. His clients know or call him the HVAC business coach, trainer, and consultant, who's also one of us. So we're super excited to have Pete on the show with us. He's got an awesome background, great experience, and we're excited to learn from him and what he's kind of doing in the industry. So. Pete, do you want to kind of fill us in with a little bit more of your background and share a little bit more of your backstory, kind of how you got in the industry and what you're up to now?
Yeah, I'd love to. I started back in 1982. It'll be 38 years next month. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. When you go in the military, you get that free schooling. So I ended up bringing heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration skill set out of the military, and of course came into the civilian world. Worked as a service tech for many years. Launched my own business, which was a terrifying moment. If for those who've gone through this, they know what I'm talking about. And then did that for about 10 years. Had a fork in the road, a crossroads, if you will, and sold my business. And I went to work for initially Lennox as a territory manager, but I worked for several companies. Over the years with the manufacturing, I've worked for Goodman. I've worked for wholesalers that sold like American Standard. I was a field technical consultant, which is, the guy that you call for technical issues. Did some training on that out in Texas, some sales trainer. And I've consulted for a long time and ultimately came full circle. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years, almost 2 years full time. I've been doing it part time for about 15 years. So been around a long time.
Awesome. Yeah, no, we're super excited. You've got a diverse background. A lot of the people we've talked to are typically they've only worked in the business as a business owner, providing the services and being an owner operator and growing to a certain point. And it's cool to hear, that you've not only done that, but you've also worked in the in the industry in regards to providing like vendor services and products and manufacturing. And it's always interesting to get thoughts from people like that, because a lot of times they have a broader view of the market and what's going on than just people in the trenches every day. So we're excited to learn from you. So the first question I want to ask is, you call your process HVAC Greatness. Why did you choose that name? And kind of tell us, what is HVAC Greatness about?
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, HVAC Greatness. Well, it's not about me. It's about my customer, the owner. And what I've seen and what I went through personally was this pride. I mean, when I started my business, it was, like I said, it was a pretty scary thing, but it wasn't very long. I hit my stride and I knew that I had the best work, but somehow my customers didn't get that. And I was losing sales and work to people who did inferior work. And it just took me a while to figure out how to display to my customer what exactly they were getting, what the value was they were getting by doing business with us. And so with HVAC Greatness, it's about my customer. It's about guiding them to extract that unique, special thing that they have, because we're all different. And when I was a territory manager, I must have visited hundreds of HVAC business owners over the years. There were no two cultures alike. They were each different, which blew me away because I always had this mindset, this is the only way to do it, but it was not. And so your personality generally comes out of that. And if you extract it properly, well, then you have something positive and unique in the market that you can really contrast against everybody else. Problem is, all HVAC guys kind of look alike. If you pull in the parts house and you see all the vans, you really don't know one from another. But occasionally, want to pull in where everybody's heads will turn and go, that's different. And that's what HVAC greatness is about: is extracting that out, branding it, and implementing it throughout the business operations, so that the customer goes, I like these. I like this company. This is different. So in a nutshell, that's what we do with the program. We really take it to another level, and sales go up, capacity gets filled, average tickets go up, everything benefits. All the little issues like cash flow and, I don't have enough customers. I need better advertising. I hear that all the time, and they don't have their internal marketing set up right. So yeah, they had to go buy customers instead of serving the one they already have to the level that they should be served. If that makes any sense.
No, that's super powerful, because there's a mentor that I follow. His name's Dave Gearhart. He's actually the VP of marketing for a fast growing tech startup, and they're based out of Boston, I think is what it is. And they entered the marketing space, which there's like 7,000 different marketing softwares in the industry. And they entered it about 3 years ago. And he talks all the time about, how are we going to penetrate this market, and how are we going to differentiate ourselves from every other marketing software in the industry. And he talks about how it's brand, how their brand is what's going to differentiate themselves from everybody else. And they really focused on brand from day one. And I think that's very applicable to the service industry, because you're a commodity. Everybody is doing the exact same thing. And so, yeah, how do you make yourself different than others? And I love that little secret you shared with us. And it's really focused on your brand and your personality and who you are. So super powerful.
Absolutely.
When it comes down to kind of that distinguishing mark, I think about myself. If I'm an HVAC business owner, I'm sitting here listening to this. I hear, come out with some sort of differentiating piece of communication or signature move. What's your signature move to make it so that you're recognizable and people know the value of your work as opposed to everybody else in the industry? But I think, okay, and how do you see a trend amongst HVAC businesses that you've consulted, as well as maybe your own? I guess, what are some of the things that people are doing out there to distinguish themselves and to show up as a different player in the industry?
Well, I think a lot of people are getting the external branding right. There's some great, my buddy Dan over at KickCharge, and I'm not promoting him, and we don't have a relationship, but I met him online because his work is just phenomenal. So he works on that wrap, right? That's the external portion. But I think if you want to really differentiate, we have to consider that the average consumer today is bombarded with marketing, advertising. I think the statistic I heard last was about 3,000 per day, which seems overwhelming. And so the average consumer is blocking this out. So if you want to separate yourself from the clutter, you either have to be highly artistic and creative, or you have to speak directly to the heart, to their core values. And so with our program, we look at the external marketing, which is, hey, we fix your AC. But we also look at the internal marketing and the philosophical aspect of this. So there's 3 different areas that you can market to, and 98%, and I'm pulling this number out of the air, they only market to the external. Hey, we got this furnace on sale. Hey, we've got, a $99 promotion on this. But if you speak to somebody's values, and this is what we do with the branding, we call it branding from the inside out. We help you define and extract what your key values are. And we always add one really strong differentiator that would set you apart, just make you different somehow. And we align these after we've elicited the values of our very best customers, because there's good customers and there's not so good customers sometimes, but we want to attract a certain type of customer. So in order to attract that, you have to be attractive to them. And so generally we do that by reflecting values the things that are most important to them. If they're most important, if you're trying to sell them a $99 discount and their most important thing is, I need peace of mind. I travel. I don't want to leave my family alone at home, not knowing if that furnace is going to make it through the coldest night of the year. And there they are. I need peace of mind. So what we have to do is speak to that as opposed to, here's my widget or me. I call it bragging versus marketing. Most of these guys, we've been in business for 40 years. We've got 50 trucks on the road. We have we're 5 years running as dealer of the year and me. People don't care until it matters to them. And then of course they do. So these are all important aspects that you are important as a business owner, but it's the customer that matters. Instead of selling to them, we guide them through the process. And so we have the values, but we also have, what is that emotional pain for me right now? I'm stressed. And so we help develop that and we communicate to that. Now that's going to get the attention. And then of course, after you get their attention, you're going to have to build that interest through some type of intrigue. And this is part of your marketing. And then ultimately you'll get the commitment. So, once you've done that and you've done it right and you've really contrasted yourself, you've got a relationship. Totally. And that's where it's at. It's that customer for life that we're all looking for. Because one of the mistakes that I find is so many are looking for that advertising source that gets me that constant lead of new customers. But a lead is a lead is a lead is just bad thinking. The quality of the lead is so important in the warmth of that lead, even more so. A cold lead means that, as you guys know, I'm sure, I don't know you, I don't trust you. Okay, I need a service or a product, and you popped up on my internet. Why should I go? Why should I do business with you? Well, we do the best work. We have the best quality. But to your point, that's perceived as a commodity. Well, these other companies have license. The inspectors come out to their house, just like all of your customers, right? Or the customers will come out to inspect their work just like others. So they kind of batch that in, just like you said, as a commodity. And people don't care about, they don't care about the product. What they care about is, what is that product going to do for me, my life, my family, my safety, all of the different values that I have. And that's what's different. And that's what HVAC greatness is about, is extracting that out, featuring it, and then seeing it through in the processes. So if at touch point number 1, they see you out there and it speaks to their heart, and then step number 2, maybe they see your website and it's not congruent, it doesn't align with those values, we're stepping backwards. But if it aligns, and then when they pick up that phone and they don't hear Pete's Heating and Air, can I help you? They hear something that's polished. It's a great day at Pete's Heating and Air. How can we make you more comfortable today? Or whatever that might be. There's different styles, but we want them saying, that's cool. And raising the bar. And by the time they have the experience in their home with whatever employee comes out, we want to continue to raise it. Certainly, making customers feel good are important. But what emotion are we trying to create in our customer? That's even more important. Because, you can consider this. A lot of people in the industry understand that my children or my pets are an extension of me. And if you're nice to my children and my pets, it makes me feel good. Right. And it's true. So if I'm a service technician and I've got some doggy treats and I say, hey, is it okay to give Fido a treat? And they say it's okay, and I give them the treat. Well, the customers, I like that. That's pretty cool. That's a good feeling. But if I'm so focused on your customer, and maybe that experience is something like, what's the problem? And can you explain that to me? And I'm writing this out. So what you're saying, if I'm focused on you, and I'm speaking into something deeper, it extracts a stronger appreciation. Relationships all have the same pattern in forming. There's 3 steps involved, but something really interesting, and they're all connected. The act of falling in love will happen faster. If you want somebody to fall in love with you, we're talking about couples here, really fast, reflect their values, number one, and have a strong emotional experience with that person. And you've got, boom, you've got a real connection. And we've got both, right? If you've reflected their values, they're already emotional. And you go out and you match those values, and you have their emotions calm down to match yours through certainty and confidence and cheerfulness and attitude and all of the different positive aspects of this, you're going to form a connection. And this is how customers are really won. It's not by being the cheapest price. It's not by giving the fastest service, and it's not by giving dog treats to the dog. I mean, all those are nice and they're important, but it's about establishing that connection and strengthening that. And it must be done through your processes and your systems throughout the business, at every, what we call a touch point. If it touches the customer, we want it optimized. It needs to send that same congruent message displaying these are our values, and these are the ones that people can connect with. These are the problems that we solve, and they're our internal ones. That's me. That's what I want. And price is important to everybody. Don't get this wrong, but price becomes really secondary. You go from being an outsider to being in their tribe. Because if in my tribe, I've got my family and my friends, but I also have my barber, my dentist, my doctor, and my HVAC company. If you get in there, once you're in there and you've done this right, you're home free. And this is really important, particularly, gosh, times are changing, guys. You see this all the time. I saw an email go out, because I'm licensed in Florida, that FP&L, the local utility, they're coming out and they're dipping back into the heating and air business. The competition is coming for your customer. If you don't have them locked in emotionally, if the reason they came to you was for the discount, the reason they're going to leave you is for somebody else's discount. But once you've made that connection, it's just a whole nother level. This is really, really important in the industry today.
Yeah, that's super powerful.
Yeah, definitely. It reminds me a lot of, so I think about, dang, how do I drill down to what is that emotion? And I mean, I don't know about you, but if I imagine a very emotionally sensitive person, I don't think of like an HVAC tech. And I think, okay, how can we drill into what are these emotions? What are these drivers? Because we all have drivers, but for our decision making, some are based out of fear, some are based out of love, and they all swing in different directions. And I think about Simon Sinek. He teaches this principle very well, exactly what you're talking about. He talks about starting with the why, and he discusses how Apple, when they sell a product, they don't say, hey, we sell the best computers in the world. We manufacture them better than anybody else. They reverse it all the way back, and they say, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in freedom and independence. And, oh, by the way, we also happen to sell computers. And so I think if asking, if I'm an HVAC owner, I'm listening to this and I think, well, how do I figure out my customers' values? Well, they're people. You can ask them. And I think the greatest question is why? Like, why do you make this decision? Or even asking people around you, what's the most important value to you in your community? I'm sure it looks a little bit different in Texas than it does in like Manhattan
or Salt Lake City,
Utah. Or Salt Lake City, Utah. Like, why do we make the decisions we make? And I think there's some shared human values, safety, comfort, peace, those kinds of things drive a lot of our decisions universally. But I think that's really powerful stuff in asking, okay, why do I make my decision? And it's always going to be emotional if you drive down deep enough.
No, you're spot on, Trevor. And that video is floating around on YouTube on why with Simon. And I actually put a link to that in our From the Inside Out branding program because it's so powerful. So we're on the same page here. But I think that, from area to area throughout the country, I think these emotions are displayed differently. But I think fundamentally, we all have the same emotion based on our circumstances. So my insecurity with having an air conditioning contractor out would be totally different than a little old lady who lives at home alone. I don't know this man. He's is he going to case my house and come back and rob me? Are they going to steal from me? Are they going to dirty my house? Or what? There's all these different things that come up. And so if we go through the exercise, we have a workshop right now that we're working on. So I've got contractors, owners from around the country, different locations, Canada and the U.S., and we're going through this. And you can start with your testimonials. All of their values that you've satisfied get thrown back at you. Oh, he was just so kind and nice. This is showing that you care. They'll say Theodore Roosevelt, I believe it was. People don't know how much you know until they know how much you care. Initially the students will start out. I want them to know that we're the most professional, we're the smartest, and we're the best. And it comes back. They don't care. Not yet. Your number one quality needs to be that connection. I care about you. Your safety is I care. We want that family. You want your family safe at night. I don't want you worried about this. I don't want this happening, in your absence. And in that why, a lot of the time, that's that philosophical part. So if we're selling to that emotional, and as a group in the workshop, we're always trying to elicit and make sure that we address all of them in some form or fashion in our processes. Then let me back up and just talk about that one step more. Maybe you send a text message or an email out letting your customer know that service technician Pete is on his way. And if you sent an email in advance, this is just an example, and you can take this any way you want, any direction that you want. And let's say that there's a little bio in there. Pete's been in the industry for 15 years, and he's one of our top service technicians. Here's a picture with him and his family. Once you put a picture up with a strange man who might rob me alongside of his beautiful wife and children, those walls come down. Oh, he's just a normal person. Right? He's not on the work release program, more than likely. He's not on drug rehab, right? Little things, photo ID badges and in a professional uniform, a proper professional vocabulary. All of these things speak volumes about who you are as a person when you're coming out there. And so this is all part of that. I lost my thought. We were going down another direction. Oh, the philosophical. So we've got the external, which we don't even talk about. We go for that internal. But then there's the philosophical, like, life's too short to be having to deal with something like this. Or just like you don't want your family taking a long trip and being broke down on the side of the road. You don't want your family at home worried if their system's going to make it through the night. Or something like that. They're philosophical. This isn't right. This isn't fair. And we figure out how to summarize that, and that's part of our marketing message as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's super powerful. As you were talking, I was thinking about, how can we identify, how can a business owner identify some of those values that these customers care about? And the thought popped in my head. I was reminded of a time about a year ago. I was looking at my Google reviews for my business, and I was just kind of curious what people were saying. And I learned a lot by doing that. And so a little secret for those out there trying to identify, well, what is my brand? What are my values? What are people connecting with? Go read your reviews, because people will tell you through the review on Google or Yelp or Facebook or whatever it is. You'll learn a lot about what people are connecting with you. And if you don't have any reviews, go look at your competitors and identify, what are people connecting with? What are they sharing? Because they, like you said earlier, they don't get on there and they don't say, I love this business, they give me a great discount. They usually say, I love this business, their texts were so nice, they were so kind, they showed up on time, they were punctual, right? They talk about values in the review. And so I think that's a great way for identifying, maybe if you don't know what your values are, go look at your reviews. And if you don't have reviews, go look at somebody
And
else's.
and we do exactly that, Parker. In fact, when we do the program, I've got a full spreadsheet, and we just go in, and we always start with your best customers, not the ones that are so difficult. You can certainly sort that information separately, so that kind of gives you an indicator as to the kind of customers that you don't want. But we're focused on the ones that we do. Law of creation. You want law of attraction. If you want to attract a certain type of person, then you need to be attractable to that person.
Yeah.
But I found this review. I'll just share this one with you real quick, and this is impromptu, by the way. And I don't want to use the names because it's not my review and it's not one of my customers, but we were talking about this with our group, just like what we're doing right now. And they were asking the same questions. Well, how do we know? I said, well, let's just take one and break it down. So here's a review, and I'm just reading it from Deborah. And I want to say her last name. And her reviews were 5 stars. Amazing service, professional, friendly, and oh so kind. Just stopping right there. Professional. That means that in my mind, that means this person is respectful of me. They're calling Mr. They behave themselves in a very professional manner. Friendly, and oh so kind. Now we're showing a value of caring. I want people who care, who are kind. It goes on. T was a great listener. This is your call taker. Understood the problem, was able to dispatch a knowledgeable technician. There's another value to the job ASAP, which was super important since there was no heat and the temperature was below freezing. So this was up north. And so this is important to me. My house is there. This was long distance. It'll go on to say, and this is important to me. And my sense of urgency was respected, and it was addressed, and it was done so quickly. The tech L not only came out quickly and saved us money due to her kindness. This was a female tech. Now, this will throw a wrench in your perception. The values are still there, but this was a new company. I think it was one of their very first reviews. And so there's different things that are going to prompt that feeling, law of reciprocation, that desire to go ahead and write a nice review, and money might be part of this. So this is a little bit of a but in the statement. But she went on to say that her cheerful attitude and helpfulness went a long way to ease my mind since I was 3,000 miles away from the problem. It is not often that you find a company with people who truly care, all caps, C-A-R, who truly care. You see where this is? It's all in there. But let's see here. Both, now they recognize the monetary attachment. This is valuable, and this is worth more financially. Both deserved not only a bonus or a raise, but in my opinion, this entire area, this cooling in area demographic, everybody should do business with this company, and so they this client recognized, these people deserve more money and they deserve more customers. More people need to be doing business with this. So there's a financial reward that they recognize, and so a lot of times we get hung up in, I got to be cheaper. I got to be cheaper. People recognize that when you bring more to the table, you deserve more, and as a reward. And if you're more professional, even more so. You don't go to your doctor and say, "Hey, can you come by the house for $50?" They know this. There's a level of respect that is included in there. So it's an interesting blend. And she finishes with, "Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you," all caps again, "for doing such an incredible job." So if you review, to your point, Parker, I couldn't agree more. If you're reviewing with these testimonials, and hopefully you're getting them and asking for them, and you can take it a step farther and have surveys, and if you really want to get responses, go old school and have them, self-addressed stamped envelope, really simple check questions, and yes or no, and then an area for comments. You'll find that they'll fill them out. They'll put a nice comment in there, and you've got a ton of testimonials as a result. There's little steps that we can do. I know everything's automated, and I put technology personally. I put technology second. My program is not about software. It's about getting down to what works, and then you can go shop whatever software supports that best. Yeah. And even if it takes double entry or duplicating a process to give your customer this emotional feeling, this warm and fuzzy, if you will, then by all means, take that extra step. Spend the extra money, do the extra stuff, because it's the customer that you just push them over that tipping point of reciprocity that motivates them to not just do a testimonial, but to refer a family member or a friend. And it's not, I think we get too focused on the hunt. I'm looking for a new customer. I'd rather have that cold call than taking care of these opportunities that I have that will actually generate much more. And if you study your closing ratios based on lead generation, how warm they are, how cold they are, their sources are, you'll find that the tighter the relationship, the more they go up. We were closing 9 out of 10 on our core customers when I had my business. But if in the yellow pages way back in the day, we might get 1 or 2 out of 10. To your point, we're just a commodity.
Yeah.
It's in the connection. It's in reflecting those values. It's in addressing that emotional issue. I remember a lady, I was out trying to close the sale, new system. She was very affluent. Her ex-husband was a big attorney, biggest attorney in the area. And she was stressing, and I remembered it was a trick, a sales trick, a sales tip. And I utilized it, but it changed how I approached. And I'm going to call her Mrs. Jones. I can't remember her name right now, but and she was stressed about this. I said, Mrs. Jones, listen, I'm here. You don't worry about this anymore. This is my job. I will take the worry. You go in there and you go in your house and you take care of what you need to take care of. And I don't want you thinking about this anymore because Pete's got this. This is what I do. Guarantee you everything's going to be perfect. She goes, thank you. Got the sale. It was a high ticket sale too. But people, that's what people want. Yeah. They don't want your widget. They don't care about your contactor, your capacitor. If they're online looking up the price of a capacitor, you have not addressed the values. You've set yourself up as a commodity, and they're looking at you as just, one of a bunch of options. You're not in their tribe. You're not my barber. You're not my accountant. Right.
And this is such a good conversation, and I love how deep we're diving into this, because we've had a lot of conversations and they've all been awesome, but we've talked a lot about you're not in the business of HVAC or roofing or carpet cleaning or whatever your service that you're offering. You're in the business of people.
Amen.
Now the question I have though for you is and this is kind of taking a different turn, but still applying the same stuff. How do you, for those that have employees or are starting to hire employees or have a 50-person team, how do you trickle those values down to your entry-level brand new employee?
Excellent question. Just like if you've ever hired a new employee and you've stolen them from the competition,
yeah,
and they bring this baggage with them that almost makes them, not worth the hire. They've got the technical skills, but they have all these bad beliefs on things. What we have to do is we have to get back to those core beliefs. To Trevor's point, the why. Well, why is it that I can't get you to take a 15-year-old system and turn it over as a lead when the system doesn't have that many years left in its life expectancy? Well, there's a core belief in there somewhere, and we've got some really good technicians with moral character, and they're not. The owner would want to sell you a new system. I can do this for $500. They're not going to do this for your reasons. They must do it for their own. So it begins with the inside out, and this is where being a leader, not a boss, a leader, becomes vital.
Wow.
And so, like in our flagship course, the HVAC Greatness Success Blueprint, we address that. We start with your beliefs, and we dial them out into these different levels until ultimately you have what your company culture is supposed to look like. And then you, as the leader, you must take your employees through a belief systems transformation as well. This requires a lot of training and role playing and clarification and open communication. Tell me, what is wrong with this? Let's talk about it. I'll give you a quick example. We were the first to go flat rate pricing in our market back in the 90s. And I would have Tuesday morning meetings. Mondays and Fridays were just too crazy. Tuesday morning, I'd have all my technicians in, and we combined it with a review of the prior week with training and whatnot. And I had just gone through some financials training with one of the gurus, and I've taken tons of classes. And this particular one was an accounting program, and we had broken down the costs per technician to each expense, what it was per hour per tech. And so anyway, so the technician says, I asked him, I said, what happened to the call on Friday where the church had the defective blower motor? Did they install it? What happened? And he says, no. He said, the preacher said that was way too much money. And I don't blame him, because it was. I mean, there it is. Here's my employee going, here's your price. Right? If they don't believe, you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
So right then, I had one of these boards, and we wrote down everything. Boom, 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 boom. We totaled it up, and it was $119 per hour is what we needed to break even. And I said, guys, these flat rate books aren't based on 119; they're based on 120. And you could have heard a pin drop. And that same technician says, we got to go up. We need to raise our prices. And I said, wait. I've got markup calculated in there. So that's a feature too. I think our prices are very fair. And so not only did it affect that guy, all these other technicians started getting fired up as well. You need to do this. This is a good price. Their attitude totally changed, and our service sales just jumped. It starts from their beliefs, in short, Parker. And so that's a little bit of a stretch from what most owners are used to, doing in terms of being a boss. But it's all doable, and that's why we go through this, and we try to help you guys. It's all about the journey. We're all in here together, and if you try to do it on your own, in today's society with all the information that's out there, like Trevor mentioned with the why. That's just an awesome video, and there's just too much great information out there for us to do business like we did back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Right.
At least I think.
Right. I also kind of think about how, we talk about if we want to change behavior, we change belief, and if we want our techs to be super empathetic, maybe on the phone saying, "Oh man, that's got to be so frustrating, but I will take care of you." That kind of language doesn't just naturally come out of somebody unless they're either scripted to do it or they have a belief that's changed, so it comes out in a genuine manner. And I think about my own experience at Tesla. We talked about this all the time. We talked about the people that would maybe come in because they wanted the best looking vehicle. Well, why do they want the best looking vehicle? Because they want love and acceptance from their friends. And to be able to make that connection is beyond light years of what most of my salespeople were thinking. But in order for them to get there, I thought about, what you say about leadership. I had to be in a position where they also believed that I cared about them and that I took care of them. And so having weekly one-on-one meetings whenever you can, sitting down instead of saying, all right, well, how's your performance? How's your data? You turn into a little robot. You sit them down and you say, man, what's going on? How are you feeling? And using that kind of language, and they're going to reflect that with the customer if that's how they're treated from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on, and you hit several points. I don't want to miss any of them. But I just had a training session with one guy, and we were listening values, and he says, I'm going to be a boss one day. I don't think empathy should be a value that I'm projecting very strongly. And I couldn't believe it. I said, yeah. I said, you absolutely. That's one of the most important ways. If you want to attract the right employees, you must display empathy.
Yeah.
Now, you need to draw a line in the sand. Just because we care about you doesn't mean you're going to take advantage. Here, we all have a responsibility. I'm putting in more hours than anybody in the company, and you know this. So don't tell me this is not my job or whatever attitude that you're trying to manipulate and take advantage of my good heart, right? So empathy is just key, but empathy to the customer. Think about it this way. We have to separate that empathy, I hate that you're going through this because, I went through something similar, what have you, with this becomes your responsibility. Now I have to give a discount. Oh, this is bad timing. I've got all this coming on. We have to be able to separate that, because that's what they have family for. You're a contractor. You've got your own financial responsibilities, but they have theirs. But we still, it's like when maybe you have a teenage daughter or something, or son, and they go through their first heartbreak. The sensible part of you is going to go, you'll get over that. Gosh, there's more to follow that one. Don't worry about it. You have to get down and help them, carry them through that emotional point. But there's a solution. Everything's going to be fine. And you become that rock, that's supportive at the same time. Excellent point, Trevor. You guys are good.
We've been fortunate to spend some time with some awesome people, and we're learning from them.
Yeah.
So.
Likewise.
Well, Pete, we are coming up on our time here, and I know we had some more questions we wanted to get through and talk about, and so we'll have to have you back on the show some other time. But for our listeners wanting to learn more about you, where should they go to learn more about you?
Well, my email is HVAC Greatness, and I just use a Gmail account. So it's hvacgreatness@gmail. Now, HVACGreatness.com is not an official website. I set it up differently. We've got another product that's under development right now. It's HVAC from A to Z.com, which is going to store a lot of this stuff. But for right now, my focus is in one-on-one, small groups, and putting a website out with a bunch of products and services. We're not an online course, okay? Part of it's online, yeah. We're not a financials course. Part of it's financials, yeah. We're more about building that machine, that unit, and reverse engineering it in such a way that not only are we getting attracting the right customers and getting the interest, but we're building a customer base in such a way, and a company model in such a way that organically the sales come in just by doing the things that, the ratio between office and employee. We're talking about the ratio between service tech, installation crew, and or installation crew and service techs and maintenance techs. There's a balance. So you go through a process to do that. But in short, HVAC Greatness at Gmail is my email. HVACGreatness.com, and there's a private group over on Facebook that you can join, and we do a lot of free training over there as well. So I'm more than happy to have. We do a free 30-minute strategy call for you new guys, or you guys that are struggling with an issue, and we'll see if we can help you out. We don't charge for that, and there's no obligation. So I'll share my calendar with anybody who's interested in that too.
That's awesome. Pete, thank you so much for hopping on our show with us and sharing your insights and your experience. We hope it's been super valuable to our listeners. And Trevor, do you want to add anything?
No, I just appreciate your time. Thank you.
Awesome.
No, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate what you're doing. Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Service Hub podcast. Trevor and I both have really been enjoying this. We hope you have too. And if you have, it would mean the world to us if you guys went over to iTunes and gave us a rating and review. Give us your feedback. Tell us what you think. Also, go to the platform that you listen to your podcast with. Subscribe. We're out there on every platform, Spotify, iTunes, you name it, we're on it. Again, thanks for tuning in. Look forward to next week's show.